Hi, Else here, and today I'm going to cover the not so secret about how to approach a case. I'm only going to give you an outline in this series of videos, a basic approach to case planning and writing. In a future video, I'll solve a basic case as an example of how to use this approach. This basic approach is a formula, one that you should apply to every single case you write. If you learn to apply this process consistently, you will become better at case writing and more successful. Cases are usually structured as follows: a short text covering 1.5 to 2 pages of writing, followed by 1 to 5 pages of exhibits. The exhibits could be written information, such as a meeting with a client. They're usually in bullet or numbered listing form. An exhibit could also be numbers, such as a trial balance or the financial statements. Another type of case you'll see is one that is written all in paragraphs. For those, you have to search for the information which is material to your case analysis and response. These cases tend to be more challenging, but again, if you have a basic approach to case planning and writing, they are totally doable. Let's get started to the steps in a case. Step 1. Rough in your plan. Planning for a case is always the same, and if you start the case with the plan roughed out on paper with a lot of blanks in between, you can simply fill in the blanks as you find them. I always have the following roughed out on my plan before I start reading anything. Role. This answers the question, who are you? In a case, you might be given the role of a CPA, or a student, a consultant, an internal auditor, the controller, a treasurer, whatever. Whoever you are, you need to know your role and you need to stay in the role during the writing of your case response. If your role is a surprise to you, you've never seen it before nor have you thought about it, then you need to slow down during step 3 so that you don't miss any important information that is necessary for the role that you have to assume. Product. What do they want you to produce? A memo? Report? Letter? Email? Each of these requires a different format, so knowing what product they want you to produce is critical. Who will use or be materially impacted by what you produce, and what do they want? I always tell students that the user's objectives have to be at a high level. Don't tell me that a client wants a loan to the bank. Instead, tell me why they want the loan in the first place. For instance, they might want a loan because they want to expand the business. That's their true objective, and it will guide all of their activities and be the focus of what they want. By placing down their true objective, it will help you to better understand the client's motivation and potential biases. That will also help you to better focus your attention when you're developing the requireds and the issues. The level of sophistication tells you how comfortable the client is with regards to financial information. For instance, if the user is the owner and they want to expand their business, but their level of sophistication is low, then the product which you produce, for example, a memo, will have to have the correct language so that your user can understand your product. The level of sophistication is critical when you produce your product with regards to the language. You've got to orient it to your audience. So remember, who are the users who will use or be materially impacted by what you produce? What is their objectives? Really, the wish of their hearts, what they want more than anything else. And then, how sophisticated are they? Constraints. Generally, in financial reporting cases, the constraints are almost always IFRS or ASPE accounting standards. The standards are a constraint because they limit what you are permitted to do. Another common constraint might be a bank covenant, which constrains whether the company can keep their loan, or a shareholders agreement, which might constrain what individual shareholders are able to do. Constraints can be anything, but remember that a constraint is something that limits the choices available to the users. Bias or motivation. This will be very much guided by who prepared the information that you just received in your case. Let's say the owner prepared all of the information given to you, and the owner would very much like to expand. They likely are biased or motivated in order to maximize net income. You could write that down here, but it would be better if you were more specific. Don't just say they want to maximize net income. Instead, say that they may be biased to maximize revenue and minimize expenses. Why would you want to do this? Because then it provides you with a guide. While you read, this will help you to identify possible issues later in the case. Remember, for biases and motivations, be specific. Risks. These are case facts that help us again identify issues. They should be overriding risks, ones that will impact everything you do in your case. For instance, does this client have locations in a foreign country? That would indicate the level of complexity with regards to financial reporting. Is their financial history questionable? Maybe they've never used ASPE before, or they've always been a sole proprietor. It could be that their spouse has kept the accounting records up till now, and they are not accountants. Is there a recession going on right now? This may indicate the company is in trouble or heading for trouble. Is there new competition in this industry? Or has the union called for a strike? Any information from the case that would indicate potential risks to the overall analysis that you're doing and with regards to the work you have to do for the client is important to note for future reference. Timeline. If you don't understand what date it is today, when the statements have to be provided for, when the bank wants financials, the deadline for the client to file their income tax return, then you can't determine what is critical now and what can maybe wait till later. This can have a significant impact on your rankings of both the required and the issues. A timeline is therefore very important. Your timeline should note both the date and the description of the thing that needs to be done by that date. For example, if today is February 8th, I would put down February 8th and the description would be today. If the financial statements are due at the bank on March 1st, I would note March 1st and bank financial statements. Include everything in your timeline for the dates that you are given. This will help inform your analysis, but also help you rank your requireds as well as some of the issues. Requireds and issues. The requireds are what does the client want you to do? What are they asking for? Requireds always take one whole page, and I may have more than one. I may have a page for required number 1 and then a separate page for required number 2. Under each required, there may be multiple issues. For instance, if my required is to produce the financial statements, then some of my issues might be revenue recognition for memberships. Remember, required number 1 should be on one page, and then required number 2 on a totally separate page. You need to leave the space afterwards to list your issues. The big picture. What is the overall impact of all of your recommendations on the financial statements or the bank covenants? Whatever your client wants to know and is most critical for them. The big picture at the end of your case is likely the most important thing you can do for your client. The client wants a summarization of all of your recommendation, and so the big picture has to be there at the end of your case. Now that you have a blank plan for your case, we'll continue with step number 2 in the next video.